take this back to your teacher and tell her, you have failed me.
There was a moment earlier this week when I had got home from work and Joey was sitting at the table and he was doing some math work, and he's doing like percentages and decimals and all this stuff. And he was taught it at school, and I think he knew it, but hasn't practiced it enough to know it well. Mm-hmm. And he was just putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he was getting frustrated with the work, and he's just doing the math problem and it's just not coming out. Mm-hmm. And I could see it in his face, and you were sitting there, you could see it in his face. And I was trying to tell him dude, it's okay. It's okay. I told him in that moment, I was like, dude, I remember percentages specifically. Mm-hmm. Percentages were not easy just to understand. I was like, I remember that was one of those things. Am I fucking dumb? I just don't get it. Mm-hmm. 3 out of 100%, 10%. This doesn't make any sense. And I was like, you're in elementary school. It's not a big deal. And that's the opposite of what you would think parents would tell their kids. Right? School is one of the most important things in life. Right? And I was just like, dude, it's not a big deal. And I was telling him you'll pick it up in time and whatever, but he was still frustrated until the point where he just he started tearing.
Yes.
And I told him, I was like, it's okay. I was like, you know what? Leave it alone. I was like, I actually don't care if you do your homework. I don't care if you get it done or not. If they fucking fail, I don't give a shit. Leave it alone. Go upstairs and go play with your Rubik's Cube. Go play with your Transformers for a while. I was like, maybe before we leave, you can come back to it for a little bit, give it a shot. You can take it with you to jiu-jitsu. We'll do class, and then maybe you can, do some more there or whatever. But just leave it alone for now. And he went upstairs, and he was just playing with his stuff, played on his computer, just kind of got his mind off of it. And we went on doing our stuff, right? And then about 20 minutes before we had to leave, I go up there and I talk to him, and I was telling him, I'm like, look, man, this is just one of those things that it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. And I shared with him an example of when I first started working on helicopters. And there's something about looking at something that is 3D on a blueprint, on a piece of paper. And when you're looking at drawings, sometimes you're like, am I looking at this from the front? Or am I looking at it from underneath? Am I looking at it from the top down? Am I looking at it from the left side or the right side? Or is this the back of the hell? I don't even know what side. And I remember when I first started, I was like, I don't understand what the fuck I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. I can see the parts, but what is... Mm-hmm. And then I remember somebody telling me at work, don't worry, just keep looking at it. One day it's going to make sense. One day it's going to click, and that's it. Yeah. Now you know. And I remembered the day, I don't remember specifically, but I remember that feeling, that thought. I was like, holy shit. I see it now. I can see the helicopter's facing this way. This is what I'm looking at. And then from that moment on, I would always point this out. This is the back. This is underneath, And I told Joey, I was like, there will be a time when it's going to make sense and you'll be okay. I was like, but life is a lot bigger than a math worksheet, than your schoolwork.
What you just explained is what we go through in life. Life doesn't make sense a lot of times.
And then,
we hit 40. And the wisdom starts to kick in. And you're like, oh, shit.
That's what that was about.
That's what that was about. Isn't that hilarious? And then you start putting the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the things that didn't make sense even at 40.
You're like, life is a lot bigger than all this bullshit that I was thinking about.
No, for
Right?
sure. You
And-
start to realize what's important.
And even, you know, and I told him at the same time that I was telling him, like, life is a lot bigger than this math worksheet, than percentages. And I told him on the spot, I'm like, look, dude, this shit doesn't even really matter, because once you learn how to do it, you're going to be doing it with a calculator anyway. You just got to know how to do it. It'll make sense eventually. Don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself out. There's no need to be crying over this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And I told him, for something that he may feel that I take super serious, jujitsu. I was like, jujitsu is not that serious. It's not that big of a deal. Life is a lot bigger than all of these things. You know?
Right.
I was like, so now let's go back, see if you can figure something out. If it still doesn't make sense, it's okay. Just put it down. We'll go to jiu-jitsu, and then maybe you can look at it after class. If not, take it to your teacher and say that I don't get it, and have them explain it to you a little bit better. And I did rip on the teachers a little bit.
Yeah, you did. We were like, take this back to your teacher and tell her, you have failed me.
No.
My dad
No.
told me to tell you.
No, I told him, because he said, if I turn this in, I'm going to get a highlight.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, tell your teachers that my dad has a board in the house with all of your names on it, and he's going to give you guys highlights. You know, it's like, what the fuck? I'm fucking highlighting all the teachers' asses. You know?
Oh my God, it was hilarious. And he said, can I really tell them that?